Hi guys, I'm James McIntosh and today I'm joined with Football Operations Manager Mark Summerhill for a catch up on all things Borough related. Mark, you're currently out training ahead of the Hungerford game. Are all the boys looking forward to the cup action tomorrow?
Yeah, it's obviously Moneyfields tomorrow, which is the Portsmouth Senior Cup. So the lads are in tonight. They'll be in Wednesday and they'll be in Thursday again. Obviously, as we've got really important league games coming up Saturday and Wednesday, and both at home. But yeah, the Moneyfields game tomorrow. It's Portsmouth Senior Cup is a prestigious cup. Sorry. Yeah, the final is normally at Fratton Park, and it's certainly a competition we'd like to win. Although we also, it's an excellent opportunity for us to blend some of our younger players into those. An excellent opportunity to give minutes to those guys that have been on the fringe or on the bench or coming back from knocks. So, like every game, we'll be doing our damnedest to try and win it. But it's also we have to look ahead to Saturday and the current situation with the squad.
Well, Mark, you kind of just summarised my second question there, because I was about to ask. We've normally put out quite strong lineups already in the Pompey Senior Cup. So can we expect to see a couple youngsters? And could you name a couple of the youngsters who may be able to get a couple minutes? And is it time for like a couple people who don't normally get game time, just to give them a bit of fresh legs and give them some opportunity to play some games?
Yeah, absolutely. In your question there, you've probably summed up what we're trying to achieve. With there will certainly be 7 or 8 first team guys out there who will be needing the minutes. So it's an excellent opportunity for them to get some really valuable game time in the legs. Yeah, and yet we'll be looking at 2 or 3 of the under 18s to come in. The likes of Troy Wingfield will probably start. There'll be a couple of others, 2 or 3 starting, and the bench will be sort of youth field as well. So an excellent opportunity for those that've got a real interest in the club to come along and see what the future holds. Zach's done an incredible job with the under 18s this season, and they're only. I know they've got a couple of home games left, but they're very, very close to clinching the title in their under 18 league, and we're going to try and make sure that we can arrange that so they do that here. Which will be a sort of fitting end to the season for our really, really strong under 18 side.
Well, like you said there, you brushed upon it earlier, sorry. We have got some important league games coming up, one being Saturday, one being next Wednesday. And like you said, you just showed the importance of the under 18s there and just how well they're doing. And is this how we're going to juggle our remaining cup games? Because we're still on the Russell Coat, still on the Pompey Senior Cup. So is this how we're going to have to juggle league games and cup games?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. It's one of those things where you can't help but feel we've got a bit of momentum behind us now with recent results, especially last week midweek away at Hungerford. Our fans were fantastic, and you couldn't help but feel that that victory and the way our fans were that night. It was a really, really fantastic atmosphere, and you can't help but think we're gathering some real momentum now. Also in that building momentum in the league, we would like to continue and win these cup games as well. We're not going into any game without trying, but that's not Pat and Joe's or any of us or any of our style. So it will be a really, really good opportunity to look at under 18s in these cup competitions. I don't think anyone would be particularly impressed if someone like a Dan Wooden, for example, got injured on a Wednesday night in the Portsmouth Senior Cup and couldn't play on Saturday against Beaconsfield or Wednesday against Paul. I think that would be, that would probably be a little bit irresponsible from us. And also you've got to look at Moneyfields as well, who are playing tomorrow. A good Wessex Premier League side, have had lots of personal battles with Glenn, the manager there, who's knocked Moneyfields into really, really good shape, and they're playing also to win the Wessex Premier League. So I'm sure they're going to have one eye. These Wednesday games are great because a lot of teams on play Tuesday, so we should attract a few more people on a Wednesday, but also make it incredibly close to a Saturday game with only Thursday and Friday to recover. So we have to be mindful of the whole picture. And that's what Pat and Joe are incredibly good at, is looking at the whole picture and what's best for Gosport Borough Football Club.
Well, I'm going to take us back to the AFC Portchester game, which was a cup game. I think it may have been the Pompey Senior Cup. I can't remember what cup it was now. But in the game, we saw quite a few new tactics implemented. And maybe it's a chance for new tactics to be tried and implemented for league games. So maybe could it perhaps be a blessing in disguise having these cup games? Just to maybe add as an extra training session almost. Like maybe that's how we could consider it.
Yeah, I think you have to look at every opportunity to maximise these opportunities. And yet, we've tried different systems all season. We've started with a 3. We've gone to a 4. We've gone back to a 3. We can switch to a 4 during a game. We really are quite versatile. And these games are fantastic. Great opportunities to try players and to try things, but also, we must remember people are paying to come through the gate. And we're all here to win, and that's certainly what we'll be trying to do. But you can't deny the great opportunities to look at bits and pieces.
Well, hopefully we should see quite a few fans like the game tomorrow. And another game I think we will see quite a few fans like is the game on Saturday. But before we look ahead at that game, I just want to look back at a couple of games that have happened this February. And for me, it's been a really good month. So we won 2-1 at Merthyr. We had a good game at Salisbury where we won 1-1. And I think one of our most impressive games was the game against Dorchester where we won 3-0. But at the start of the season, I think it may have been our first game actually. We did lose 2-0 to Harrow, which was a really disappointing game. But in the end, it's been a really good bounce back. So how would you assess this month overall?
I think it's been a positive month. The Merthyr win was a fantastic win, and we felt like we were up and running, and there was a real good feel good factor about the place. Fans were fantastic. The atmosphere here on a Saturday really is second to none, and also when we're away now, we're getting really really good following. In particular, last week at Hungerford on a cold, damp midweek night, and the Gosport Borough fans were absolutely fantastic, far louder than the home fans, and that's what I mean by it feels like we're gathering momentum now. But unfortunately, we followed up Merthyr with a poor display at Harrow, which was probably as bad as we've been all season. But again, we then bounced back and beat Dorchester, got a really good point against Salisbury, and then went on to beat Hungerford. So, 3 wins, a draw, and unfortunately one defeat. You'd have to say it's probably been last 5 games have been really, really positive. And I personally feel we're building up, really good momentum now. We know we've got tough games coming ahead. We know that, Beaconsfield will be tough. We had a really tough game at their place, and we know Paul, are a good side on their day, although going through a very, very sticky patch themselves at the moment. Lots and lots to play for. But I think that our last 5 games, in summary, I think have been really, really positive.
Well, it's a massive juxtaposition from last season, and even just looking at things like the mentality. So this season, I brushed upon it in my last question. We are showing to bounce back, and we are showing a real fight within the boys. And like I said, it's a massive change from last season. And ultimately, could this be one of the key differences that maybe does secure our promotion rather than just, I don't know, sitting in playoffs?
I think there's a genuine belief around the group for sure. But if we do go a goal behind, we're going to get one back. We know we've got goals sort of throughout the side. If you look at the last time here with Tarbs coming in at the far post, to equalise. He hasn't been a prolific scorer, but has been a prolific performer. And I think the mentality is good. That is one thing that Pat and Joe do bring to this group, whether it be the staff group or the playing group, is a togetherness. And one thing they do, what you don't see is Pat and Joe ranting and raving at people on the touchline. That doesn't mean there's no discipline in the group, because actually what they do is set really, really high standards. And we are a really, really disciplined group on and off the field. And I think I don't want to be critical of previous regimes here, but what I can talk about is from our time here, which is from pre-season right through, is we've set the right standards. The players have reacted to that. I think there's a really, really good spirit in the group. We've got some really good experienced heads in there as well. Don't underestimate that. The likes of Rory, the likes of of Danny Holland, the likes of Woody. Waz has been out injured, but still around the group. And we've got some really good experienced guys in there that can also manage the dressing room as well. But I think that's one thing you do get certainly with what I would call Pat and Joe's regime is a discipline and a belief and a positivity that I think has spread through the whole club.
Well, another thing that I think's changed a bit since the last month I talked to you was actually some of the new faces that have joined. So we've seen the likes of Christian Campbell join. We've seen Alfie Stanley come in. And it looks as though these players, and talking to a lot of these players actually, they've been having discussions with the management team, so the likes of you, Pat, Joe, about how the managers have been looking for certain players to fulfill certain playing styles. And are these almost the final pieces coming together of a large jigsaw? We're almost starting to fit together and in a nice time as well, just before the conclusion of the end of the season.
I think if we're honest, recruitment at the start of the season was good. Pre-season was really good. I think we put a very good squad together early on. However, I don't think you can hide from the fact recruitment at times has not been easy. I think we've learned as we've gone with a lot of how we've tried to recruit, and we've also worked really hard at it in the background. We've also been let down quite a few times at the last minute by players. That can happen, that's life. And also, we've had opportunities to take players, and we've turned them down because we don't feel they're the right fit for the group. And that is really, really important to make sure that people fit this group. Like I talk about, the discipline and the spirit. It only takes one bad apple to upset that. And I think there's been some bad apples probably around in the past, and we certainly haven't got that. So when we do go for someone, we have to make sure it's the right person, for ability, spirit, behaviours, all those things. And certainly, our most recent signings have absolutely, epitomised that belief, and trying to bring the right people into the group.
Well, like I said there, you just said these players, they've definitely had an instant impact. So Christian Campbell, he's had 2 last games, 2 assists in both of them. Alfie Stanley, I think he claims he got a goal. I'm not sure whether it was him or Bradley Tarbach, but either way, he's had a large impact. And we've seen a lot of these players have large impacts. But also, we've at the same time, we've seen a couple of outgoings. So Jake Scrimshaw being one of those players. And I think a lot of fans, they were quite confused about Jake Scrimshaw. So this decision, was this his own decision, or was it maybe Pat and Joe saying he's not going to be able to get the new game time with players like Alfie Stanley coming in? So how can we let go of Jake Scrimshaw?
Well, I think Scrimmy's a really, really good guy, and personally got on really well with Scrimmy, and he was a good person to have around. What you can't deny is what Scrimmy didn't do is do what he was brought in to do, and probably score enough goals. Although, what on the flip of that, what Scrimmy did do is work really hard for the team. But you have to, when you've brought someone in to do something specifically, and then you get the chance to take someone else, then you have to have difficult conversations, and that's like I've said. Pat and Joe aren't ranters and ravers, but they are, really, really good football people. They are very, very honest. So if game time for people is going to be limited, then they'll be honest and tell people game time is going to be limited. And sometimes it comes to a mutual agreement that the person can go and seek more regular game time elsewhere. And that was certainly the case for Scrimmy. We parted in really, really good terms. Shared a few messages since he's gone, and I wish him all the best. I think he's a great guy, got great pedigree, he comes from a professional background, and a good semi-professional background, and he's a great asset to any squad.
Well, you mentioned upon it there when answering the question. He's a great player. He gave it 100% every game. And I noticed that when doing the commentary, he really loved playing for the club and everything like that. But like you said, he did have his faults as well. And I felt one of the biggest faults with him was his finishing. But when looking at a player like Alfie Stanley, who's just come in, he thrives off of that element. So do you feel as though now we are, like I said before in a couple questions ago, we are building this final puzzle? And will this be the final squad most likely that will take us into the end of the season, or could we still see some new faces coming?
I wouldn't rule out a new face or two between the end of the season. You've got to be careful how many people you bring in, because you can see from the team that we've been putting out and the squad we've been putting out of what the nucleus is, and we don't want to lose that togetherness. But certainly the likes of Alfie and Jake Coper, we've not mentioned yet as well. Cope came in and started away at Dorch, and has started since then and has given us real energy and bite and legs where we needed it. Alfie is fantastically sharp, by the way, as well. And you watch Alfie in training, incredibly sharp. And when he came on and when he started, Alfie does look like the part. I would say we're nearly there. Would I be surprised if we didn't bring anyone in? Probably not. If we got the opportunity to take the right person, As we push towards the playoffs, then you might see one, maybe two more come in if the opportunity is there. But it would have to be right for everyone. But we've certainly got a really good settled group at the moment.
Well, we are now coming towards the business end of the season, and it is really the do or die where we can guarantee the playoff position and maybe can hope to get that promotion spot. But I would like to say we've probably played the most hardest teams now. So we've played the likes of Merthyr, Salisbury. We have still got Cheshire and some big teams, but I would like to say we probably have got a nice run of teams now. We're starting to play more teams lower down in the pyramid. So do you feel as though probably our league run now starts to favour us a bit more than other teams like Salisbury, who still have to play like teams at the top of the table?
I think if you look at it on paper, you could probably say it might be quite favourable. However, one thing I think we have learned from this league is there's no easy games. It's a bit of a cliche, really, but there is no easy games. Look at the likes of Swindon Supermarine. Look at the likes of Didcot. Like when we've gone other places, those games can be incredibly tough. When you look at all of these sides, I see Curtis Cumberbatch at the weekend. Scored a batch at Hendon. Any of these sides on their day can cause you a problem. They've all got good players. They've all got some really good players. I mean, you look at Paul at the moment. I mentioned earlier, who are struggling result-wise. We've got some really, really good players in there. Dorchester, who we went and beat 3-0. Some fantastic players in there. So all of these sides on their day, I'm sure. It's a really, really, really tight league. I think a lot of it comes down to consistency. Probably comes down to a little bit of luck, and probably comes down to a bit of getting on a good run. And we've certainly managed to get on good runs at important times this season, which is probably why we are in the playoff pack. And there's a bit of a gap between those sort of chasing the playoff pack at the moment, especially results on Saturday didn't do us any harm. But we are in a strong position. That is for sure, and we're not going to give up on trying to chase down Chesham. If we can't chase down Chesham, then we'll try and finish as hard as we can in the playoffs. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, I would imagine our game this Saturday will have a large part to play. We are playing Beaconsfield, and it seems as though they've started to hit form now. They've won their last two games. One of them was actually a very impressive win over Walton and Hersham. I can't remember the score exactly, but they looked really good on the paper and reading the tweets. So could this perhaps be a hard game looking at it? They're a mid-table team, but like I said, form has hit them at a good time, and yeah, they could potentially cause a big problem.
Well, if you look at their results, they're off the back of beating Walton, which is a really good result. Beat Didcot, we know that can be tough. They did lose at Hayes, got a good draw against Shoalin, and managed to beat Plymouth Parkway. Beaconsfield will be a really, really tough game. I think you could probably pre-record this and play it for every week now, but they're going to be really, really tough games. Doesn't matter if we're at home or away. Beaconsfield will be really tough. I think the spirit in our group is good at the moment. Like I said, when we finished the Hungerfield game last time out, it felt like, and keep using that word, felt like we had really good momentum with our fans behind us. The last game here, to have over 1,100 people in here cheering us on and making one hell of a noise as well. I wouldn't want to be Beaconsfield coming here on Saturday, because I think we're going to be one hell of a tough game. Who knows? These games are tough. I've got no doubt we will find a banana skin somewhere between now and the end of the season. I've got no doubt the form we're in, we're more than capable of winning here Saturday. And when the Gosport fans get in here and pack it like they do and get behind us, we'll give everyone a good match. And like I said before, we'll do everything we can to set up and go out and win.
Well, you've alluded to it quite a lot in this interview, and I've spoke to Pat and Joe a lot of times in post-match interviews where they've said how important fans are within the games. So looking back at that Hungerford game, in my opinion, they were the difference between winning and getting a draw. And how important will they be in our last remaining fixtures, being that 12th man and getting us back on their end of the line and just crucialising that win, really?
I think they're massively important. You can't underestimate it. I write it in my programme notes every week. I don't just write it for the sake of it. I write it for a really, really good reason. When the fans get behind us here, it must be a really, really intimidating place. Must be an intimidating place to come, because our fans are first class and make a lot of noise. If you'd have been at Hungerford last week, you would have thought the Gosport Borough fans were the home fans. Travelled in good number, made a tremendous amount of noise from start to finish. And that's what I mean by that momentum piece. Not only did we win the game, the fans are there after the game making as much noise as they did during the game. It leaves the players on a high, leaves us as the staff on a high. please, my big plea is to Borough fans, just keep coming and keep doing what you're doing, because you are appreciated more than you will probably ever know. And let's hope we can, repay that loyalty and desire that they're showing on the pitch by getting results, because they really really do deserve it. Players unfortunately come and go, manager staff unfortunately come and go, but fans don't. And I think the fans here really, really do deserve, certainly to make the playoffs, and promotion is probably everything our fans deserve. If it was down to support and attendances and noise, then we'd probably be top of the league by a mile.
Well, if you want to buy your tickets, Borough fans, click the link in the description and you can really help this Borough team, just like Mark said. But Mark, hopefully next time I speak to you next month, hopefully we might actually already be in that playoff position and might have already secured it. And I look forward to speaking to you next month. But I think you know how to end the interview. Can you say the final words? Up the Borough.
Up the Borough. Thanks, James.